Hey guys, this is Arpan from Red Army Kolkata, and just as always, we have one more exciting guest for you guys today. Today, I have former Manchester United goalkeeper Chris Turner with us. Hi, Chris, how are you doing?
Hello, Harper, and hello to everybody there in India who may be watching tonight.
Thank you so much. So, yeah, how is everything over at your place? Like with this coronavirus and everything, everything getting back to normal now?
Not really, no. I mean, it's really become a problem, like it has in most parts of the world. Our biggest problem in football is obviously no fans in the stadium, which is causing problems, financial problems for all clubs, even Premier League clubs. Somebody like Manchester United are losing £5 to £7 million per home game, which Manchester United can, to a large degree, survive from. But smaller clubs, non-league clubs, Leagues 1 and 2, and even Championship clubs are now really starting to find it a massive problem. And in the next 2 to 3 weeks, that problem has to be solved with a loan from the Premier League or from somewhere outside of football to help the EFL clubs survive. In general, in life in general, we're not going into a second lockdown, but we are going into some tougher restrictions than what we've recently had. But we're surviving.
So you are associated with Hartlepool, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So
I managed Hartlepool, and I was director of football.
Yes.
In 3 spells, covering 12 years.
It's exciting. So, I'm just trying to understand what your exact role was and what is the situation of the club at this point of time, and that is just to understand what is actually happening in the footballing scenario in England.
Do you mean in Wakefield?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm the director of football, chairman of Wakefield Football Club, which is a brand new football club. We have to start at the lowest level in football, step 7. It's not paid salary for players, not at this level. Step 6, which is 1 level above. Wakefield is the biggest city in the UK that has not got a professional football club. It has a rugby league Premiership club. The rugby league has been there for 150 odd years. A football club has been tried before and failed financially. This time we're starting with a different way of running a club. It's for the group of players, it's educational based. So a boy comes over, continues his education and plays football Monday to Friday and plays in a competitive game Saturday. And on top of that, we have got a first team that if anybody from that group is good enough, will play in the first team. But we have a first team that plays every Saturday in the Sheffield County Senior Premier League. We've got 2 very professional. I brought 2 very professional coaches in, ex-players, played at good levels, Leagues 1 and 2. So we're playing at Featherstone Rovers Stadium, which can hold up to 9,000 people. We're currently getting 300 at the moment, which is very good for the club of our level. So I'm trying to bring the newest football club into a professional into the professional leagues in the coming 10 years.
Oh, that's an exciting prospect. That's an exciting prospect to look forward to.
Yes, well, it's a big project. It's a big project. It's a big project. We're looking for investors. We have local investors. I've had 1 investor from India. We have got investors from Egypt, from the USA, from Canada. So we're always looking for investment, always looking for people to support the club.
That is really exciting, and I wish you all the best to your club and to you. And okay, now your youth career, you come from Sheffield Wednesday, like when you were a young footballer. So and from there you went to You played in the senior division for them, and then to Lincoln City, and then Sunderland, and then Manchester United. So, how was the feeling when you first signed for Manchester United? I believe you were signed by Ron Atkinson.
That's
How
right.
was
In
the
that
feeling?
1985, I signed for Manchester United from Sunderland. Um, I had just played the previous 6 years, 5 years, 6 years at Sunderland in the highest division.
Mhm.
Played many times against Manchester United. Pleasingly performed very well, which Ron Atkinson obviously saw me play against them, and he signed me in the summer of '85. I could have stayed at Sunderland and probably played there for a good number of years going forward, but I took the break from there to challenge Gary Bailey, who was the England number 2 at the time,
Mhm.
and Manchester United's number 1. And I felt that I didn't want to get to my age now, 62, and be thinking, if I only had signed for Manchester United, what may have happened? What events could have happened in my career? So I thought that, and I was pleased that I did, that I took the big chance and went to Manchester United.
And you were the one who actually saw the signing of Sir Alex from
That's
Ron
right. Yeah,
Atkinson, and
yeah.
you played one season under him. So, like,
Well,
how was that experience?
well, I played 18 months under Ron Atkinson and 18 months
Mhm.
under Sir Alex. Totally two different sort of managers. Sir Alex, Big Ron was a what you would describe a players manager, where he got his players to play a brand of football that he brought players in to fit in like a jigsaw to play. Whereas Sir Alex came and from day one, win, 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 win. At all, we need to win. We're Manchester United, we win. We're expected to win, and we win. And he was driven, absolutely driven to be successful. But he did find it very, very difficult in the early days for obvious reason, because we were up against the mighty Liverpool at that time. They were the
Exactly.
team of the era of the 80s, was Liverpool. And whatever start they had, I mean, my last season, or Fergie's first season, I think we finished fourth or fifth in the league. And then
Yes.
the full season I played with him, we finished second. But Liverpool had an unusually good start to the season, because Liverpool, as they used to say, was like a Grand National horse race. Start at a good steady pace and build up to a sprint towards the end, and they win the league. But that year they had a great year from start to finish, and we were always chasing them. But so it was difficult for Sir Alex, because playing against that and the ever changing of foreign players was coming in, and Chelsea then went on to not so much buy the top league, but they brought in high quality players, which made it difficult for Manchester United again with another club. But eventually he got there, as we all know.
So, in your team, when you were in the practice session, who was the most exciting player and who was the biggest influence at that point of time on the field?
Well, there's only one man who was the biggest influence, that's for sure, and that was the captain, Brian Robson, the best leader England, I believe, has ever had as a captain. Inspirational on the field, off the field. Great trainer, would always be at the front of training. Our flair players in them days, Peter Barnes, who signed on the same day as me for Manchester United, Jesper Olsen on the left hand side, Gordon Strachan on the right hand side, Norman Whiteside. Goals came from Mark Hughes, Frank Stapleton, and then Brian McClare was brought from Scotland from Celtic by Sir Alex. At the back, Paul McGrath was the top class, world class defender, and then around them were some stalwarts of Frank Stapleton up the front. At the back, Kevin Moran, Graham Hogg. In full-backs, you had Colin Gibson on the left, Clayton Blackmore, Mike Duxbury, Arthur Albiston, tremendous pros, good, solid professional players. And Remy Moses in midfield was a top sort of midfield player, and we had a good side. We had a good side for that era, but as I say, Liverpool had that quality that made them better than everybody else.
Exactly. Now, one thing, for all the people we have had before to speak to us, nobody was actually played with Brian Robson. And since Brian Robson played before I was born, I have even after watching all these YouTube videos, it does not actually give you a proper idea of what kind of a player he was. So if I ask you to tell me, make me understand, walk me through like Brian Robson and maybe the players we have seen, the players in at present, would Brian Robson fit in the present this millennial situation in this kind of a midfield, the way we play midfield right now? Would Brian Robson fit in, or
Brian Robson would walk into Man United's team? He would walk into it. He's like Roy Keane would walk into that team, the present team. They lack, in my opinion, Manchester United lack a Brian Robson in midfield. Brian, he would go into strong tackles, win the ball, pass it, move on, get into the box, score goals. Inspirational in the dressing room before half time. A winner. It was a North East boy, he wanted to win. Picked up a lot of injuries due to his commitment that he used to play. As I said, training extremely hard in training, was super fit, and a great player for people to look up to, that without doubt would be playing in Manchester United, and anybody else who's in the Premier League, if I had, would be in their team. When people talk about players from different eras playing in today's modern game, he's without doubt one of them that would. He would cope, because physically he could cope, fitness-wise he would cope, and quality-wise he would cope.
We really need somebody, a captain like Brian Robson. Captain, fantastic, and we could really help with one.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, leaders in football now are hard to find.
Exactly.
Leaders are hard to find, and you can tell. I can tell when I listen to players talk on TV. When I listen to players, I listen to Roy Keane, leader, a captain, an inspiration for those in his team. Roy Keane, never interested in anybody else, in any team, other team, any fan. When they go into that football pitch, they go to war, they go to win. And Brian was exactly the same. We want to win, we go to war, and that's the sort of attitude is difficult to find now in the modern footballer.
Exactly, that is one thing that I wanted to talk to you about. Now moving back to the dressing room, we talked about Brian Robson. Now, who would be the prankster that would bell the cat, like make a prank with Brian Robson? Maybe who had the guts?
Well, I mean, it was full of characters. I mean, in John Gidman was a massive prankster. Would love a joke with the players. Lou McCarry was a little bit before me, but the players used to talk about Louis at the training ground when one day all the press came to the Cliff training ground, and the press were playing a game against press from Italy. The Italian press, British press were playing in a game, and Louis went in the dressing room of all the Italian press, and they remember the Italians, they have all expensive socks and all the stuff. Well, he went in there and cut the toes out of everybody's socks and put them neatly back into the shoes. So when they're getting changed after shower, they put their sock on and their foot goes right through. There's pranks like that. Were pretty common. Alan Brazil was a great joker. Gordon McQueen, wow. I mean, I didn't play with Gordon, but he kept coming back because he moved to Hong Kong at the time, and we went on an end of season trip to Hong Kong, Singapore, Bangkok. So I met Gordon in Hong Kong, and boy, you only have to sit in his company for an hour and you're rolling about laughing. Great guys.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And so if I ask you to pick one friend who you're still in touch with from that team, maybe somebody who influenced you the most, somebody who made you feel welcome the most from the day you joined, who would that person be?
Well, that'd be Gordon Strachan, because Gordon, when I bought my house in Wimslow, Gordon was 3 or 4 doors down the road from me. Not that I knew it at the time. And I used to go to training every day with Gordon in his car or my car. We'd take it in turns. So I've known Gordon quite a long time now, 25, 30 years. Bumped into him last year in a hotel in Leeds and had a nice hour and a half chat with him. He's up at Dundee now, director of football up at Dundee in Scotland, and obviously he's been Scotland manager, Celtic manager, Coventry, Middlesbrough. He's been around football a long time. He's a great character and helped me a lot at Manchester United.
Absolutely. So when Chris Turner watches Manchester United play in 2019-20, maybe 2021, what are the adjectives or what are the beep words that come out of your mouth?
Well, I watched them yesterday.
That was
against Brighton, and you can't say that we were overly impressed.
I wasn't.
And the win in the end was a very fluky win with a handball. But no, I mean, Ollie, it's hard because we were talking about Liverpool of the 80s, Manchester City are the present team, and Liverpool again. Chelsea's rebuilding into a top 4 club. Arsenal, I believe, are going to be a top 4 club this year. Manchester United, for me, need to get not Harry Kane, but a Harry Kane sort of centre forward. Somebody who you know is going to score 25 goals plus a season. For them, for me, for United to be back in there, really in the top 4, challenging for the top position, they need 2 or 3 more quality players. I think we need another good, solid centre back. Still, as you said earlier, can we get a midfield player in? Beck's just come, so you've got to let him find his feet. But for me, or even get Rashford down the middle and get him playing every week regular down the middle. I just think that we are at the moment, if we don't have our best 11 out there performing well and having to put in a lot of the fringe players in, as you saw yesterday, we can't be beaten. And yesterday, I mean, didn't Brighton hit the woodwork 4 or 5 times? Really, we should be beating teams like Brighton out of sight. But I think it's going to be a bit of a slog at times for Ollie until he gets it 100% right.
Exactly. Now, now there has been a lot of talks about signing Jadon Sancho. I think it's all over the news always, like it's always on there, on the top of the news. Now, what do you think about Jadon Sancho signing? You mentioned that we need a striker that can score more than 25 goals per season. Now, last season, Anthony Martial did score 23. Rashford did chip in with more than, I think, 23 or 22. and we had Mason Greenwood scoring 17 odd goals. So, do you really think that we need a Jadon Sancho like winger on the right side to help us attack? Because all the attacks that we build are mostly on the left. There is nothing coming up from the right. So, do you
Well,
really think that we? Yeah.
I think we do need somebody on the right of a more consistent on a more consistent basis. But at 120 million or whatever it is, round about that figure, no, I don't think so. Not for me. As I said there, I think we need two or three players, and I would carve that sort of figure up and spend 40 and 30 on three players in those areas that make the whole squad strong. Unless Ollie has got some plan, playing Sancho on the right, Rashford down the centre, and Rashford suddenly gets 25 plus 30 goals. Who knows? Who knows? But it's a lot of money, and I think in this current climate, financially for clubs, I don't think Manchester United should be held to ransom for one player.
Now, speaking about money, from the team that you played in, who do you think would cost the most, like around that 100 million kind of a mark?
Well, a fit Paul McGrath, a fit Paul McGrath, a Brian Robson, Ryan McClare, when he was scoring, he was scoring 20 goals plus. He was playing in the Premier League now, would be 60, 70 million. I would have thought. Yeah. I mean, it's 30 years ago, so it's very difficult to try and put it in today's market, because there are a lot of players in the Premier League today that are costing 25, 30 million, who are no better than them boys in the 80s who were costing hundreds of thousands of pounds to buy. It's a different market today. There's more money in the market for players. So, it's a different game. It's a different game. Played in a different style now to when I played. There's no doubt about it. But a lot of those players in that era, if they were born 20 years later, would be playing in the Premier League now, I'm sure.
Now, you were there till 1988, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And yeah, this famous class of '92 were in the youth division back in those days. So, did you get to ever interact with anybody before they graduated from the academy and started for the main team?
Well, I mean, way back then, there was talk of Giggs and Beckham being in at 13, 14 years of age. But those boys that came through, I put my money on, because Alex Ferguson came to the club and took a great interest in the what was the academy then, in the academic players coming up, the youth development sort of stage players. He showed interest, as when you read the books and watch the DVDs of the players coming through. He showed an interest, which is most important. Well, it became very important to Manchester United, because 6 or 7 of them were all playing in the team in a number of years ago, winning trophies and making Manchester United great again. And that's by having a manager who, as I said, was driven to be a winner, but he was focused on the whole club. The whole club. Managers today don't have that time, don't have that comfort of being too interested in what's happening with the 12s and 13s and 14 years of age. But when he heard certain characters, certain players of that age group, as we read or have read, he took great interest and nurtured them through with Harrison, the youth team coach, at the time, and they did a fantastic job. Fantastic.
They did. They did, and we reaped the benefits for I think 20 odd years even after that,
That's
and that
right.
is phenomenal. That's
Yeah.
phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. So, what was your first interaction with Sir Alex like? Uh, I imagine that Sir Alex was not this fiery guy from the very beginning because he was pretty young back then. So, how
Oh,
was the man?
very fine.
Very
Very fine.
okay
Oh, yeah, yeah.
from the
I
very
mean,
beginning.
Gordon had him at Aberdeen, and he told us the hairdryer what was happening at Aberdeen before he came. He was telling us about the days at Aberdeen under Alex Ferguson, and then 12 months, 15 months later, he's coming down to be his manager again at Manchester United.
Mhm.
But he was young. Well, when I say young, he was driven. He came into a situation where, when he was at Aberdeen, he built a dynasty of Aberdeen. Everybody in Aberdeen respected and feared Alex Ferguson. Now he was coming down to one of the biggest clubs in the world, at Manchester United, and it took him a real long time before he had the same feeling that he had at Aberdeen at Manchester United. And it took a period of time and a number of squads to come in, move out, come in, move out, before he got that real sort of respect that he had at Aberdeen. And a lot of that came through those 6, 7, 8 young players who were put into the first team that Alan Hansen famously said, "You'll win nothing with kids." They were the ones who were looking up to Sir Alex. They were the ones that really cemented him as the manager, and the great manager that he is and was for Manchester United. Those young players cemented it for him, the respect, and all new signings that were coming in. And then you got Roy Keane and Brian Robson, all them people. They were driving the club on the pitch, and Fergie was driving it off the pitch. No doubt, no doubt.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, you yourself were a manager. You yourself have managed like a number of clubs. So,
Yes.
have you ever felt that your managerial experience has been affected or influenced by the way you were managed in Manchester United? Did you take anything in that you got helped by in the future when you were managing the clubs?
Well, I mean, I was fortunate. I played under and worked under the managers, the likes of Howard Wilkinson, Jack
Hmm.
Charlton, Lenny Ashurst at Sunderland, Alan Durbin, who was a top manager for me. Then obviously at United, Ron Atkinson, Sir Alex, and then I had Ron Atkinson again at Sheffield Wednesday.
The frequency, yeah.
I had some top managers to see work under, and to be fair, everything that really came at me as a manager, I would have probably seen or witnessed in dressing rooms, in and around the training ground, majority of things, and I had a good wealth of experience behind me. And I would say to somebody, be your own manager, be yourself. But if there's things you can take out of all your experiences, like I have with the managers, you can always fall back on something. But at the end of the day, you have to be yourself when you're manager. You can't be another Brian Clough. You can't be another Sir Alex. You can't be a Bob Paisley. You're Jurgen Klopp. You've got to be you, and that's how we've got to be. But you've got those things at the back of your mind of all them experiences that you've seen, learnt, and seen work and seen fail, to be able to make towards your judgment on whatever decision you've got to make.
Exactly. Now that is what the experience helps you make your decisions. The experience helps you
I
understand.
know now that I would be a better manager today, because I haven't been a manager for quite a number of years now. But I
Yes,
would be a
yes.
better manager today at 62 than when I was at 40, when I was winning week in, week out as Hartlepool United manager, I'd be a better manager today because I've had more experience and I'd be more relaxed than when I was when you're a young manager growing up. You know it. You know that you have to. You always have to win. We all know that as manager. But you put more pressure on yourself when you're a young manager because you're striving to get to the top. And you put pressure on yourself, bigger disappointment, bigger relation, I suppose, when you win, when you're younger. Whereas now, when you sit back, I look at Roy Hodgson, he's 72, he's still managing in the Premiership. Sir Alex was right up to his late 60s managing, and more relaxed. So when a decision has to be made, more experience to draw on, more experience in you as a person, and I'd feel I'd be a much more relaxed manager now, as Sir Alex was as the years went on at Manchester United. He was more relaxed.
Exactly. Okay, now if I ask you one incident that changed your life as a player, that forged you as a goalkeeper, that made you see yourself as a professional goalkeeper, what would that be?
Well, I'm going to go right by. That's a great question, that, because when I was 10 years of age, I played school football at a school called Shooters Grove. Now, Shooters Grove was not a big school, and it wasn't in the city of Sheffield. There's 8, 9, 10 bigger schools more into football than Shooters Grove. And I was the best footballer, even though at 10 at Shooters Grove. And I went to trials for Sheffield boys under 11s, and as a midfield player. I always fancied myself as an outfield player. And I went to the trials and I didn't get a look in. Did not get a look in of getting into the Sheffield under 11s squad at school, junior school. 3 weeks after the trials had come and gone, there was a six-a-side tournament which we were in on this particular Saturday morning. And I was going there as normal, going to be the one who's going to be scoring all our goals, creating all goals, being all this, that, and the other. And on the morning, the goalkeeper failed to turn up. He was ill, a boy called Colin Beresford. And he failed to turn up because he was poorly. So I volunteered to go in the goals. And that tournament, we took some good hidings, but had plenty of saves to make. And at the trials, at that tournament, was the same guy and the same committee guys who rejected me as a midfield player. And after the tournament, the manager came to the Sheffield, to our school teacher and said, "Excuse me, can I just ask a question? Why wasn't your goalkeeper coming along for the trials a few weeks ago?" He said, "Well, he did, but he was a midfield player." Not a midfield player, he's a goalkeeper. He said, "I've loved what I've seen here today." He said, "I would like him to come and attend the training sessions at Sheffield Boys." There I went, and then from that day, I played through 11s, 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s, as it was in them days. Started Sheffield Boys, Sheffield Wednesday at 16 as a goalkeeper. So that, when I was 10 years of age, was a massive change of direction for me. Even when I played professionally, I still helped in training, playing outfield, 5-a-sides, 88 games, and playing out. I loved it. In fact, one game we went to Middle East country. We went out there, and we had a few injuries from the game on Saturday. I was struggling for the team Bahrain, and I played out live on Bahrain TV in a massive stadium with about 30 people in, but it was live on telly, and I played outfield for Manchester United in that game.
That is amazing! Wow!
Yeah.
That is
I actually represented Manchester United as an outfield player in a friendly.
See, who knew? Like, that is amazing.
Nobody knew.
That is amazing. Like, you were a goalkeeper and an outfield player. Now, one more question. One simple question.
Yes.
You mentioned that you played 5-a-side matches as an outfield player. Now, I will ask you pick 4 players from this current Manchester United side to play with you as in a five-a-side match.
Right. So I'm in goal. Right. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Okay.
So,
Whatever your team, you pick it.
well,
You have to
well,
pick.
well, I would pick the hair in goals.
Okay.
The current team, I would have Rashford up the front. I'd have James because he picks the ball up and runs at people.
Mm-hmm.
I like Yamata midfield. Centre back, I would have Harry Maguire. So there's my spine of the team. The goalkeeper De Gea, Harry Maguire, Yamata, Marcus Rashford. On the right hand side, I would have James. On the left hand side, tell me the strikers. His name's escaping me. Comes in on the left hand
Martial.
side. Martial on the left hand side. That's 5. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
team. And
That's
then I'd have me on
amazing.
the bench and you on the bench.
That is amazing. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
It was great fun. I would love to have you again over and have another chat
Well,
with
you've
you.
got my contact number. I'm always
Absolutely.
just drop me a line if you want me to come and make on any comments about Manchester United, how the season's progressing. You just tell me, and I'll come and do it. It's a pleasure. Thank you all
Thank
for
you so
listening
much.
and watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See
Okay.
you. Have a good
Stay
time.
safe.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.